Call this board meeting to order. And that you stand and ask Mr. Davidson if he would lead us in our prayer to pledge.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today seeking your guidance and wisdom in the very difficult decisions that lie ahead of this board. Father, we know that you are the provider of all things that are good in our lives. And again, we seek your counsel as we endeavor to do the work of the Board of Education. We thank you for all the blessings that you provided us now through the years. Hopefully that you'll continue to bless us as we make this difficult decision on what to do for the best interest of our children and our teachers in Wayne County. We ask it all in Jesus' name.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moving second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harris?
Yes, ma'am.
Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McKinney?
Yes, ma'am.
Items of business.
Yes, I wanted to start, as you know, we put that survey together, real quickly last week, and so I've asked Ms. she told the lion's share of that work, getting it compiled and getting it out, along with Dr. Burgess, but I've asked her to just kind of go over the results of exactly what we had and how many people, all of that. Cindy?
So we had a total of 5,403 responses, and that is broken down a little bit for you there. 84.5% of those were people who had a student in the Wayne County school system, so parents or possibly a student themselves, and about 15.5% were other community members or perhaps staff members who don't have students in the school system. In the bottom chart, you can see, again, a breakdown of those roles, and we'll talk a little bit more about those as we go. So the survey was open from Wednesday, the 22nd to Sunday. The lion's share of the responses were on that first day, with about 3,500 responses on the first day, and then it dropped off from there. However, on the last day, we still had 174 responses, and so I feel like we got good response from our community. I have had several people question me why people were allowed to take the survey more than one time, and that was an intentional decision on my part, because when you make the survey, when you fix it so that people can only respond once, it takes away a little bit of accessibility to the public by requiring them to log in with an email. And I thought that you probably wanted as much feedback as you could get, and so that was just a decision that I made in the construction of the survey. So these two questions deal with the preference for the instructional model at the start of school and the start date of school. And the top pie chart shows that 56% voted that they would like to begin with traditional school practicing mitigating safety factors, and 44%, 43.9% want to begin the year with distance learning. And then we also asked the preferred start date of school. That yellow slice of the pie, that's 50.2%, wanted to start school after Labor Day on September 8th. The blue is about 36.8%, and that is to start school on August 10th, which was our originally scheduled start date. And then that red slice is 13% that wanted to move the start date to August 24th. And so if you combine the two later start dates, about 63% of the respondents wanted a later start date than the August 10th start date. Y'all have questions, just stop me, okay? So here, these charts look a little different because I had to disaggregate this data from the total. I think somebody said we really would like to know what parents have to say about that, the question about the instructional model and the start date. And so these two graphs only show parent responses. And so that's parent responses, just general parents, and also staff members who have children in the school system. So I tried to get all of our parents there. And you can see the percentages are not that different from the aggregate. 56.8 want to start school with a traditional instructional model with mitigating safety factors, and 43.2% prefer starting school with distance learning. And then again, you can see that almost half, 49%, wanted to start school after Labor Day, 12% on August 24th, and then 39% on the original start date of August 10th. And again, if you combine the two later start dates, that's about 61% that wanted a delayed start. The second section of the survey dealt with virtual learning questions, and we did put a note in the top of, so all of the questions that I've already gone over were required questions. If you filled out the survey, you had to answer those first section of questions. These next two sections did not require a response from everybody because we gave some instructions that we wanted this section to be parents or guardians of students in the school system or students, because this is actually asking about their readiness to be able to engage in virtual distance learning. And so you can see on this question about reliable access to the internet, about 78% of the respondents said yes, that they do have reliable access, and 22% said no. And that matches what Ms. Jones has, Ms. Jones had gathered some data and had used several data sources, and that's pretty close to what Ms. Jones and her staff had found. And so then we wanted to dig in a little deeper because a lot of people maybe have access to the internet but only have a smartphone. And so this question asks about that. Do you have a device other than a smartphone that your student can use for online learning? So 73% said yes, and 26% said no. And I'm rounding these numbers, y'all. And then we asked the question about, do you have a device for each child in your household? You know, if you have 4 kids and only have one device, then that's, you know, something that we need to be able to plan for as well. And so you can see that the no slice of the pie gets higher there. And only about 59% said that yes, they had a device for every student in their household, and about 41% said no, that they do not. And finally, these two questions also deal with virtual learning. Is there an adult in the household who will be able to facilitate online learning by providing structure and support for the student? We know how important that is. About 64% said yes, that there would be an adult in the household. About 36% said no, that they don't have that. We also asked about counseling services, and if we had to go to a complete distance learning model, how we should provide counseling services. One of the things that we have learned is that you know, COVID-19 is taking a social emotional toll on all of us, but also our students. And so we are committed in our school system to being able to take care of those social and emotional needs as well. And so the majority, 47%, said that this should occur by appointment only. About 38% said that the school system should provide these through like just walk-in services at the school. And then 13% said that these services are not needed at this time. And so then the last little section of virtual learning questions had to do with meals and extracurricular activities. And so we asked if we have to go to distance learning, how should we provide meals for our students? And you can see that there's not one mandate here. 43% said we should do that through delivery with bus routes. You may have read of systems doing that. 36% said that we should maintain the twice weekly through pickup lines, which is really what we've been doing since March, with just one short break in there, I think. And then 20% said that we should do it daily through pickup lines. And then finally, the question about extracurricular activities. If the decision is made to do virtual learning, how concerned are you about canceling extracurricular activities and other programs sponsored by the school system? So 35% said that they weren't concerned at all, that we need to keep extracurricular programs even if we have to go to virtual learning. About 24% said that they were somewhat concerned about that, and then 35% said that they were very concerned and that extracurricular programs should be canceled during virtual learning. One more little thing that's not on the PowerPoint that I wanted to tell you though about virtual learning. We've also sent I know that you all have been concerned about supporting our teachers and making sure that our teachers are ready to go with virtual learning. So we also asked our principals to send a survey out to their teachers. It was a one-question survey that simply asked them to rate their comfort level with using Google Classroom as an instructional delivery tool. And so the one was, I have no experience with Google Classroom and will need training and support. And then 5 was, great, I've used Google Classroom successfully in the past and I'm willing to help with college. And so I'm really pleased with the responses we've gotten so far. About 25% of our teachers rank themselves as a 5. And teachers are real timid sometimes about tooting their own horn. You know, I don't know, that's just kind of the culture of who we are. And so when I looked at the list of these teachers who rated themselves as a 5, and that yes, I would be able to help a colleague, I was just so pleased at the cross section of teachers that we've gotten to answer like that. Another 27% ranked themselves as a 4. And so about 50%, more than 50% of our teachers who have responded rank themselves as a 4 or a 5. We only had 10% rank themselves at a 1, and actually some of those people are not teachers. Principals sent this to their instructional staff, so anybody that's on the email group that says instruction. But that included some non-classroom teachers, but it was only 39 people who responded that way, whether they were classroom teachers or not. And so my feeling about this is that we have a lot of people, a lot of classroom teachers who have said, I'm an expert and I'm willing to help a colleague be successful with this. And I'm really pleased with this. And the other thing is that at the very end, in May, we asked our teachers, as they were getting ready for the next school year, to please try to do some things to boost their confidence in this area. And we have a number of teachers who have become Google Level 1 certified over the summer, completely on their own and on their own time. And so many of those teachers have shared some of the things that they've done. I think it's really important to recognize that we have a lot of teachers who have gone the extra mile during this time. And not only have they gone the extra mile for themselves in their classrooms, but they're more than willing to share and help. So I'm really, really proud of those staff members who have done that. And last, members of your household who have compromised health issues. And you can see, again, it's really kind of split in the middle. About 54% said no, that there were not, and about 45% said that yes, either they or someone in their household had, compromised health that might impact decisions. And so then you can see the little bar graph below The majority of those, 82%, were another household member, had the compromised health condition, and 32%, it was actually a student in the school system whose health may be compromised. And so that gives you a little bit of information about people who may need a different option. Questions?
Questions on the survey was not, there was no surprises. It's like you see, it's pretty much split on pretty much everything across the board, other than, there was, we've heard that from our community stakeholders, parents, that they are, that's pushing back school a couple of weeks or 3-4 weeks or whatever. That's probably the only thing that does stand out. It's something that they would like to see. I would tend to agree with that. One thing I will share with you too about our daily cases. I know everybody was, including myself, was concerned about the increase in numbers, the spike, and that sort of thing. We know we have the prison issue, but having tracked it the last week, the last 6 days, there is a noted downward. I don't know if 6 days constitutes a trend, and I think you need to go longer than that, of course. But over these last 6 days, the cases have reduced 60% compared to the 5 or 6 days prior to. The daily average case number right now is 17, 18, 17.8. What the average is over the last 6 days. Before that, it was 40, 42. So again, that's about right at a 60% decrease. Now we certainly need to monitor that. And we need more time to do that. And, because of that reason, that's one of the recommendations, like I've already, communicated with you, that at this point, I do think it's pertinent for us to push back school a couple of weeks. With this downturn, you heard Ms. Denny, I think our teachers, they have went above and beyond and really been working toward virtual learning. I'm comfortable with starting the first day if need be. But I'm not changing my recommendation for us trying to go back to school traditionally, and all the mitigating factors. And I got a couple more I think we need to consider adding in based on our feedback and just kind of where we are. But pushing the school back to August 24th for students, that's 2 weeks. That gives us 2 weeks to further prepare. We know we need to get teachers in buildings to kind of fine tune everything we're doing, but the students are showing up on the 24th or whenever, just to prepare, establish those communications, and start working on schedules. We set that expectation back in, probably I'd say before March got out, but definitely before school was out or got in April, that we wanted everybody to become proficient in Google Classroom, and everybody expected to have that. So teachers are going to do what teachers do. They're going to make it happen and be the professionals and magic makers that they are. They're going to do that and have done that. Like you said, Ms. Denny, that survey results we got from them, they consider themselves, we're pretty far down the road. So what I just said was I'm recommending that we start back school traditionally with students on August 24th. Now, one caveat to that, and I do have a kind of a calendar that we put together, trying to manage a lot of things. School calendar, a lot goes into it. Before we leave here today, at the very least, we need a start date for our teachers. Okay, pushing the school back 2 weeks for students. We feel like to make it work, be instructionally sound in what we're doing, regardless of the model we're using, it does put our teachers coming back, not exactly 2 weeks before the students. They would come back on the 4th instead of the 3rd. That gives them 3 weeks of pre-planning as opposed to 1. We always have some things that we have to get in, just compliance, trainings, and signing off. Of course, our Leader and Me initiative that we've been involved with the last several years. We're continuing that. So that does take up a little bit of their planning time. The That does give them 14 days. Teachers coming back on the 4th. That does give them 14 days of pre-planning. I feel like we'll have a fine-tuned plan, communication set up with the parents. We'll be able to go through that virtual open house. Again, that's a trial run. Could we have a in-person open house? Probably, but again, to give us a little practice and setting up that communication and updating parent contacts, I think is critical. So that's the reason we've chosen to do that. So that's what I'm putting before you. A couple other things just in talking to, again, the Department of Health put some new guidance out this week. I'm looking around this. I passed along to her, I think maybe yesterday or the day before, as far as where they stand. So constant updates. You saw the CDC take a little different slant on what they're recommending as well. So that's constantly evolving. And nothing's the end all be all. It's just you have to fold everything in and make decisions what you feel like is best for Wayne County. And that's where we are. We no longer need to look at the state or really anybody else entities to make decisions for us. It's going to be a local decision 100% going forward for the immediate future anyway. But a couple of things that I think we do need to consider, one of them being, until we're comfortable that the trend is we're decreasing our cases currently in Wayne County. I think starting with shutting down the water fountains, that was a recommendation. Shutting those down at all the schools, providing water bottles, asking everybody to bring their water bottle, managing that, providing water bottles for students who can't provide one for themselves. Again, start school for a period of time until we feel like, okay, it's a little better. We can go back to utilizing our water fountains. And we can easily, it is a cost, but we can retrofit some of our water fountains now with the bottle. Got the thing that you can easily fill up a bottle of, or empty a bottle with water without somebody getting their face all down in where the water comes out of. That's the fear with using the traditional water fountain. The other thing that I recommend we do at the beginning of school first day is go ahead and mandate masks for all bus riders and drivers for buses. We're just limited in being able to transport students the way we've transported students since the beginning of time here in Wayne County. I hate to mess with that. Could we? Yes. We do not have to provide transportation for anybody within a mile of half of school. That's a state law. We've always done that. I don't recommend we change that. We need to get children to school. So the social distancing thing, if you run multiple routes and try to do that, like we've already talked about, that's just not feasible. You would take you to 11 o'clock, 11:30 to get everybody to school and get going. So social distancing is just going to be a challenge, and that's not something that's going to be different for any other school system that's going to school. But masks, we know we have, cut down. We have the hand sanitizer stations already up on buses, ready to go, and we have the processes in place for clean buses daily. But I think the mask will be a good addition and strengthen what we do. That's the only updates I have from the last meeting. Questions?
Are we going to use, I got about 3. Are we going to use September 8th maybe as a backup date in the event that our numbers start to increase again and we don't continue to see the trend that we've been having? I mean, just a plan for it just in case.
Yes, ma'am. We have a calendar for that.
Okay.
We do. We developed the calendar for September start date. We just need to know what comes along with that. Obviously, we will not be getting out. If we're not going to address a week for Thanksgiving and 2 weeks for Christmas, that will put us getting out in June. And, there's some other things that go along with that, with payroll and people not being able to retire and that sort of thing in the month of May. But we do have a calendar for that as well.
Okay, the other question, are we going to make provisions for those individuals or those families that have individuals within their families with underlying health conditions that may put someone in their household at risk?
We're going to work through that as best we can. We're doing that now. We're administrators setting up meetings with those individuals. Anybody that has that situation, they should contact their principal and work through it. And as we can manage that, we certainly will. I think there's a like I said, there's a maximum point that we can manage everyone doing that. We're certainly gonna work through all of that. And again, that's another reason to give us basically another month to prepare and work through those types of things, because you do have to have a teacher, not hospital homebound. I mean, those would be virtual learning students.
Last question. We got the mandate on the bus, and I think most of our constituents are happy with that safety guideline. But I feel like that we need to go one step further with mandating the mask at school, at the school level, within the schools. As I've been told time and time again that we do teach a little bit differently than what we used to teach. And if you're doing a learner focus type thing and the kids happen to be in a group situation, it would make it so much safer if those students had masks on. Then I would feel much better, and I'm sure the parents would feel much better if those students had masks on. So and as you know, if you suggest something, they're not going to do it. But the human nature is, if you require, I will do what is required of me.
Dr. Brinson, I wrote down my thoughts again. If you'll allow me to share those and make this statement. After doing some research, listening to all stakeholders through emails, texts, phone calls, and data gathered through the survey disseminated, I'm recommending staff return on August 4th for pre-planning. During this time, a segment of planning time will be devoted to making sure all certified staff members are proficient in Google Classroom and could successfully implement this form of education to all students should the need arise. And then I put in bold print, should the need arise, the implementation would then be such that we have a virtual learning curriculum where students are receiving effective instruction with accountability from all stakeholders. In addition, I feel this additional planning time would allow the building level team to better prepare for any possible changes, as we know we're dealing with a fluid pandemic. As Dr. Brinson has mentioned, the number of active COVID cases have dropped considerably, so I recommend that students return to school on August 24th. I know there are strong feelings both ways, and we respect that. To me, one of the things that stuck out to me, one of the positive things about virtual learning in March was that teachers, students, and parents had about 7 months for them to get to know each other and build a relationship. I feel it is important, especially at the lower grades, for these same stakeholders to get to know each other as their child meets new teachers and possibly even a new school. It concerns me greatly that we would begin school with students, teachers, and parents not having at least a brief period to build some sense of identity with each other. I'm going to follow up on what Ms. Daniels recommended. I recommend that all staff and students wear masks, knowing that this is a challenge in itself for the faculty trying to enforce. In closing, everyone is not going to agree with this decision, but be assured we did listen to your concerns. I feel trying to provide as safe as possible environment for in-class instruction will pay dividends if we have to return to an all virtual learning curriculum. And then in closing, in addition, we as a governance team will have to be willing to adapt and make changes as need arise. Thank you.
And August 24th is almost about a month out, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Almost four weeks out. So,
Great.
Yeah, I'm good with that. And that's why I was asking about September the 8th date, just in case something else popped off.
We've already developed a calendar for that, and I'll share that with you. Ms. Tanner, if you'll put that calendar up for the 24th, and again, I agree with that 100%. This is still fluid. We don't know where it's going. We didn't think we'd see a spike like we saw now, so there's nothing to say. In 3 weeks from now, we might not see something else. So we have to be ready to change. This is the calendar we have with the 24th start. We've already have a calendar, so this can be, tweaked to a degree. Again, that's protecting. You can see we're protecting the week of Thanksgiving, 2 weeks for Christmas. Everybody's working their contracted days, 190 days, or work more, everybody's working full schedule. We are, that does sacrifice 6 student days, but we were able to even those out between first semester and second semester, and still end the year at the end of May. Again, that's a little bit of a payroll issue, which we've got to be careful. What we've already seen is we've got to be careful when we start adjusting student days and pushing it back, is that we got to make sure we have teachers and everybody on contract that we don't get ahead. So that's what I'm saying. Once we start, we're kind of on contract, and we certainly can adjust maybe a week, a work week if we need to, but that starts getting kind of messy. We just got to make sure we're compensating our folks for the time they work and not extra either. This is not the time for that as well. This maximizes the student days with a after Labor Day start. Unless you're going to go deep into June, there's no way to balance the semesters with a after Labor Day start. Okay, we just got to know one semester is going to be a little bit longer than the other, and you'll notice even in this calendar here, we're not finishing the first semester, and the high school is the one that has to manage this. It's not that important, though it does affect the other 7 schools as well. We're not finishing the first semester until after we come back in January. There's 2 weeks in January, kind of like we used to do in the olden days. Come back, finish the semester 2 weeks, and then you get a work day. I think that's Martin Luther King on the 19th, and then you start the next semester. Starting after Labor Day does basically the same thing. It's just adjust it back, and you would be getting out a little bit later in June, unless we're going to sacrifice, and we're looking at sacrificing more student days. If we're starting teachers on the 4th. Again, teachers, once you start them, they're working. And my remedy to that is, something happened. All right, the plan, if something happened, we did have to start after Labor Day. It may be, we're only going to work, might be some weeks that we only work 3 days instead of 5 to try to make sure we have teachers and everybody in June still on contract for students to finish up their work days. Otherwise, you're sacrificing them student days. I'll send that to you and make a little more sense. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay, got one more question. Well, some have expressed concern about what our procedures will be for if someone becomes infected, like the teacher or the student. What is the system-wide as well as the school-wide procedures for that? So I've seen it, but I would like you to expound on it.
Right. Well, first of all, Carla Armstrong, our director of nursing, we've already established that communication with the Department of Health. She's kind of our contact person. Of course, the school administrators are going to be the one that's going to get the information, and then we have to decide whether is it a verified case or there's just concern or hearsay. Again, it all depends. All right. If there's a verified case, of course, we're going to put things in action, and anybody that has direct exposure, those guidelines from the Department of Health, it's pretty cut and dry. And direct exposure is defined as within 6 foot for more than 15 minutes. To kind of give you, that's where they're hanging their hat as far as how to decipher. Regardless of what goes on, we may close the whole class down, maybe the whole grade level, maybe the whole hall. It all depends on the circumstances. Or it may be, this small group, they were in a small group, even though they had masks on, which is another pro to having masks, is that is a factor. Were they wearing masks? Were they not wearing masks? That cuts down on the determination were they directly exposed to somebody who's positive. Anyway, it may be that small group. We're going to teach you virtually for the next 5 days, 3 days, 7 days, whatever. But that information and determination will be. Our contact will work with the Department of Health to define that. That's how they contact trace. We're not health experts. We're not doing contact tracing. We're certainly working with the healthcare professionals to tell them, all right, this is what was said. This is what we had. This is the best information, and they will guide us. Okay, you need to send all those folks home, or it's okay to maybe send home those 5 students, teach them virtually, and the rest of the class just needs to mask up, maybe they don't go to that room for a couple of days, they have class somewhere else, or we put some other mitigating procedures in place for a period of time. You know, we're gonna check, you know, that's when we check students every day, maybe twice a day, for temperature, to further monitor what's going on with the specific kids. That's the recommendation as it stands now. Is it messy? And yes, very much, but that's the reason, you know, that's the only way you're gonna be able to start up traditional school and manage it. And of course, if it starts, here's another case. There is no direct definition for us how many cases do you shut it all down. Well, that'll be something we'll monitor closely, and we'll have to make that decision. We're not gonna be the cause of an outbreak, but we'll try to monitor the best we can and err on the side of on safety. If we have to shut it down, we start school on August 24th, and we go a week and a half, and things start turning bad wherever. Okay, we may shut it down to after Labor Day. When I say shut it down, go distance learning for that week and a half. And now we got a long weekend. All of those days away from everybody helps mitigate the spread, the spread. So that's the plan. For it. When I say manage it, that's what we're talking about.
I think one of the things the parents want to know was, how will they be contacted or notified about, you know, that the child may have come in contact with someone?
We will notify parents if we have a verified case, and that's the whole thing. When you get in the situations, we'll notify parents every single time, and they may get multiple level letters during a period of time, and that's not, you know, I understand the fear, and that's very, you know, concerning when you get a letter. My child may have been exposed in the class, and then we will go into how we're managing it. It may be, look, we don't feel like, you know, we feel like that it's directly exposed. They're on distance learning for the next 2 weeks. The rest of the class is continuing, or this whole class is distance learning. You know, if we don't feel like your child was exposed, you know, we'll communicate. So there'll be multiple letters. We're working on those now. We'll have to communicate. What we can't do is we can't say, you know, the little Johnny Johnson or the little Brinson kid, we can't, you know, of course, Burpin can't violate people's rights and that sort of thing, but we will let them know anytime we have a verified case and what we're doing about it. And it all depends on the situation. I know that's.
And your recommendation on athletics?
I think we manage it the same way. We really already are now. They're out there practicing, you know, football, for example. I mean, they're practicing social distance where they can, but it's football. This practice, they're pretty much getting after it, but we're monitoring it. And if we have a situation, we're going to do it the same way. We'll start saying, maybe it was the linebacker group. You know what? The linebacker group had to stay home for the next 3 days and come back next Tuesday. And we're going to maybe doing temperature checks, but, you know, put some other things in place.
So in the event that we have to go total distance learning, the question has come up, will we still have the extracurricular activities? And if we do still have extracurricular activities, well, that's a different question. Will we still have extracurricular activities? And I'm pretty sure that probably was yes. But if we have a student and they have the underlying health conditions within their family home and they are allowed to do distance learning, will that student be allowed to still participate in extracurricular activities?
Yes, ma'am. I'm definitely recommend that. I mean, that's. I think I understand what you're saying. If somebody has to distance learn for a period of time or for a long period of time, can they participate in extracurricular activities? That's a little concerning because, you know, there is some exposure out there in extracurricular activity, but I'm not willing to take that away from them. When that participate in extracurricular activity, whether it's ROTC, band, softball, football, whatever we have going on cross country, that experience is something they're not going to get back. That might be a life-altering event that they may have opportunity to get on a different route in their life. You know, again, you're getting back to weighing out the risk as to the reward of participating in extracurricular activities or school. All these things we're deciding, I mean, are life-altering, and there is a risk. Nobody likes to hear that when we're talking about kids as far as the risk. But I think the attempt far outweighs the potential risk for a young person.
And that doesn't apply to the kid that has gotten exposed, am I correct?
Right.
That kid has been exposed, yeah. I wanted to clear that up, yeah.
That's correct. Exposed means we shut it down and mitigate and following, guidelines to the letter. We can't get outside of that.
No.
So just to make sure I understand, you're recommending that, students with health issues or either the guardian of the student, that student will qualify for virtual. And it's left up to the building administrator to make that decision. Did I understand that
So
right?
we're starting off with just student issues, and we're gonna work through the adult issues the best we can. We can't, we're gonna be limited in what we can do, and if we can address everybody's concern, that's gonna be great. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, we're gonna be able to address every 100% of the health concerns or situations, because there's too many, and there's situations, but if we can man it appropriately, we certainly will. And we're just beginning there, and I know you want a hard black and white answer as far as what we're gonna be doing, and it's not a black and white issue, cut and dry, we're hanging our hat on this, because health issues are, they're just so wide, and so.
Here's a question, just for clarification. If a teacher was exposed and they have to be sent home, would they have to take sick leave? How will that go against their leave?
Depends, okay? Depends what we have going on. Obviously, they would not be able to come to in-person school.
Right.
Okay? But we're doing this with all of our employees. If there's an opportunity for someone to work from home for a period of time,
Yeah.
a short period of time.
Right.
We have some employees now that they're coming in, they're severely exposed, so they're coming in super early in the morning and late in the evening whenever the building's kind of clear, and in the meantime, the balance of the hours are being worked from home. We're gonna have to be creative type that, but if they're not coming to work, it's gonna have to be leave.
Yeah.
They're not available to students. If they have 25 students at school, all right, and they're having to go home because they've been exposed or they have a case, they're gonna have to take leave. And I'll remind you about, there is 2 weeks, 80 hours of federal leave that does not count against their normal sick leave. Okay? So hopefully, if that situation arises, they will be able to take that leave and be out.
Right.
But it doesn't take away that sick leave that does apply to retirement when they get to that point. That's the reason they did that. That's a great decision. So, but we have to be careful, and we're trying to advise our folks. Once you go if you think you're exposed and you go get tested, well, we're not going to be able to allow you to come to work until we get a clear. That kind of puts some things in motion, and they will be able to take that leave. They will certainly qualify, but if they come back, that person's not, and you're negative, you come on back to work. We've taken 4 days of leave. That can be your sick leave, or that could be that COVID leave, is what we're calling it from the federal government. Now you don't have 10 days, you only have 6 left. So, yes, ma'am.
Can you send all our employees a copy of the COVID leave to clarify, the mandates, what it say for the clarification? And the reason why is there are people who actually think, my niece is a supervisor in one of the plants down in Florida. There are people that actually think that they can just anytime willy-nilly just say, okay, I've been exposed, I'm not coming to work. And then they find out, oh, that's not the case.
No,
There's specific guidelines for that.
Yes, ma'am. They're very specific. And what we did in the spring is no longer in action. If you don't come to work, then you have to take leave or.
Yeah, I just don't want anybody to get caught up,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll roll all of that out as soon as we get our folks back in the building.
Yeah.
That's at the beginning of the year stuff. We'll go through. We're trying to go through it now with our administrators where they can speak to it knowledgeably. They have to study and get another degree basically. Start this year. They're working at it hard. But yes, they'll have a copy in hand to go.
So you can recommend the mask for in school?
It's up to the board. I mean, that's, I'm recommending just buses, but I understand the whole thing about it. And if that's what this board decides to do, that's what we're going to do. There's problems with the managing of it.
Okay.
We're not going to.
I'm not looking at nobody to be suspended. Yeah.
Try to put first graders in ISS because they didn't have, we're going to have to use some common sense and apply it accordingly and, work through the high school That's probably where we have the most problems, to be honest. But, just make it appropriate. There'll be education period of time. We just won't be able to take a heavy hand for its discipline unless it becomes insubordination. There's a difference between wearing your mask and insubordination. If you
Right.
asked it 7 times, and you're not talking about a mask, we're talking about being insubordinate. So there'll be some issues with it.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's not addressed in our dress code, but we'll apply, again, common sense. We're not going to be able to get into the political realm with what we're wearing on the mask or something inappropriate and all that kind of stuff. But we'll have to play catch up with it, which is a little concerning, but
Mhm.
we'll manage it. It's like we have to manage some of this other messy stuff, is what I call it.
Well, I just got a plea to the parents that if they would now, we got, like you said, right at a month out. If we want our students to be able to go to in-person school, we all need to work together and start training our kids to wear these masks and how to, especially the little ones. You don't start by the day of saying, okay, you're gonna have to wear this mask, keep it all day. If you don't do it, then mama's gonna spank you when you get home. That's not gonna work. A little bit at a time, maybe 30 minutes, or not even 30, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and 30, and kind of start expanding it a little bit. And I think that'll help with our kids as far as preparing them so the teachers can teach when they get in there. They're going to have to do a little redirection. We know that.
Sure.
But, we're all in this together. So we're going to need that help from our parents. So I'm just making that plea. Everybody talk to your friends who have kids and let them know that, hey, look, we want our kids to have that educational experience and everything.
And I agree 100%. And that's one thing I should mention this. Well, I think we have 2 clear shields for every teacher at this point, and we're going to have plenty of masks. Now we're going to have masks in bulk for it, as needed. They're going to be the cheaper type mask, and that's the problem that personally I see is if it's not comfortable, it's not breathable, it's 98 degrees, kids, that causes a problem. So maybe, parents can help us out and find one that is a little more comfortable, that they're willing to wear. It's not, some of them are more breathable than others. It's not my choice, but I forgot to do it in that office. So, that would help us out. So I'll have to say for us parents helping us out with that part.
Today, if the board elects to require masks, is the Wayne County School System going to furnish a supply of masks for the buses and for the classroom?
An endless supply for the foreseeable future, yes, sir. We're spending money on that. We have plenty. Mr. Morris and Ms. Armstrong keep asking me. I said, folks, I'm just telling you, keep them coming. We want to need them because the first time they get there's going to be the hall's going to have plenty of them. We're going to be sweeping them up, picking them up all day, every day long. But that's just the price of doing business. We're not getting into that. We certainly don't want to ding our parents if they get, like I said, a comfortable mask that they're comfortable with, that they're willing to wear. It can certainly help us out. But we're going to have masks. We just got to have masks available. And hand sanitizer, all of those things, wipes. We got a plan. I know, and I agree. I haven't seen a thing of Clorox or Lysol wipes in the grocery store since March. So, but there's other remedies for that that we're ordering that we will have available in the classroom. There's little small, like 3-gallon buckets now that they have
The wipes, yeah.
more or less them heavy duty paper towels that you simply drop the amount of the little bleach tablet in there, put water in, and you pull it up. That's the wipes. Just like a little more heavy duty, but that's what you can wipe the tables and doorknobs and just the normal maintenance of the building that we already do. On top of what we've asked our custodians. I know teachers are concerned about that. No, we don't expect teachers to go spend $500 or depend on parents to send all the hand sanitizer and wipes and Kleenex and all that kind of stuff.
And there's going to be a protocol for our physical education classes, right?
We're working on that. Outside is the name of the game, but we're going to have to dressing out and those types of things. We're going to have to work through. We haven't gotten there yet. To be
right.
Up front, honest, we haven't got there. But outdoor is going to be. I talk PE with you.
Yeah.
And this time of year, it's tough to get outside, but
right.
That's something we just got to ask them to do, and it's going to look different. We're going to have to be strategic in how we do it. Same thing we're doing, coming into buildings, eating lunch, eating breakfast. Have to be creative with that part.
emotional. I hope parents feel a little more at ease. I think just through dialogue in here, we're seeing that there has been a lot of thought and preparation, from maintenance all the way up, and I commend y'all for that. And I'm a grandparent, and that's all we want is to know we're doing what we can for our children, protect them, but socially, emotionally, I just feel like we've got to get them back to school and do what we can. I'm ready to make a motion, Mr. Ellis, unless there's more discussion.
Do we need to vote on the mask mandate separately, or we're gonna roll that all
We
in?
don't have to do that separately, and I'll just say this, I definitely appreciate all the work that has went in through having further discussions after our last board meeting. And we've had a lot of discussions. I feel good about backing up to the 24th. I feel good about even asking the board to support the mask mandate so that we can, help mitigate some of the concerns. The only thing that I'm still just kind of stuck on is being able to help these grandparents who came to the board with the concern. And I hope that they will, leave today, and those that are viewing will seek their principals and work out a plan, and that we will be able to work with them to help address some of those concerns. Because some of those people had legitimate concerns, and we need to make sure that we meet some of their needs. Of course, you said the health is a big thing, and it's a lot of issues, a lot of concerns, a lot of different things, a lot of beliefs, and a lot of people doing a lot of different things, and we can't meet everybody's needs, but those who come to us and bring us the legitimate documentation, bring us the legitimate factors, I want to see us be able to address some of their concerns, so that we can educate their kids, but also help them protect their family. I have 3 kids. We're going to be at 2 different schools. I'm concerned, but I'm willing to work with it and go through this process with this board, with the school system, all of our directors, and the community. Again, we rely heavily on parents. We can't stress that enough, because Dane, you said that, to help us mitigate the spread, to help us, follow some of these guidelines that the board and that was heard today. I think it's workable. It's manageable, and it's going to take some work. It's going to probably take a lot of phone calls from this day forward to talk about some of these things. If we do get a mass spread at school, we're not afraid to shut it down and go completely virtual. I don't want to see us procrastinate about that. If we see that, and the principal notifies us of that, let's shut it down. Let's not be saying, well, we got to. If there's an issue, let's address the issue, take some days off, go to distance learning, and pick back up where we can start. And I don't, I just don't want us to get into the point of saying, well, they might have 24 kids, got it here. Well, one of the things that I'm faced with that is, if it spreads at the high school, I have 2 kids at the high school. Well, I have another kid at Martha Ross Smith. So if my kids are part of that spread, then it's spreading at Martha Ross Smith. So we got to be courageous enough to make those decisions, shut it down immediately to stop the spread if there becomes a mass outbreak. But I'll definitely support both of the recommendations that y'all have made. The things that you have made, Dr. Brinson, Ms. Denny, I support it, and I'm ready to move forward.
Well, I want to make a motion that we implement the mask mandate, both on the bus as well as in school for faculty, students, and staff.
Second.
Moving second. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation for Dr. Brinson's recommendation to start school on August 24th. I can remember that date because one day after my birthday.
And bringing the teachers back on.
And bringing the teachers back on August the 4th?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, on August 4th.
Moving second. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Coach Matt.
I think just to thank the, all stakeholders. We had over 5,000 this year.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that. And, like I said earlier, we can't please everybody. But the one thing I think one common goal we got is truly want what's best for our children. You do, we do. We just got different viewpoints, but as we've all said, we've got to be willing as a board, if we do something and we see it's not working, or like Michelle said, if there's a spread. But I just think if we can get a week or two where your child gets to know their teacher and get a little bit of a bond on there, and plus we allow time for the preparation to make sure, I mean, we're just, like Dr. Branson said, they're constantly trying to cover this. Told somebody the other day, it's an arcade game, I don't know the name of it, but they give you a mallet, pop one down and another one jump. That's what I feel like it's trying to do. Okay, we got to figure that boot, there's another one popping up. I think we truly do care about the children. I hope you feel that after the day. But I'd like to see it get started and make adjustments if we have to.
No, I feel pretty good about the decisions that we've made here, and piggyback on Mr. Joe Mack. I'm not going to talk a whole lot. I think I've talked enough, but I feel like that we're trying to meet the parents and the students, you know, where they are, and our biggest thing is educating the students of Wayne County. And I just want people to know that just because sometimes we don't always agree with things does not mean that we're not unified. You know, that's what a board is for, is to come together and bring, you know, what I might bring and may have to be thinking about, he may not be thinking about, and he may come up with something that I'm not thinking about that make me realize that this is not such a good idea. So, or it is a good idea. So I just want the public to realize that just because we have different views on certain things does not mean that we're not together, because, you know, pretty much we are. Thank you.
I know that what we do and what we decide on is not going to fit everybody, but I do believe we've tried our best to accommodate the whole pie the best that we can. So I'm looking forward to get going and hoping we don't have to look back.
I'm very thankful for all the concerned citizens that showed up last week and showed up today. We do value your opinion. I would ask that everybody be very prayerful about this, that we all understand that there's risk in any decision that we make. We just hope and pray that we've made the right and the best decision for our children, and would appreciate each of you being prayerful in this matter. And, God willing, we'll have a safe opening of school and a very productive year.
I just want to close with this. Dr. Brinson and myself meet with a group of leaders that consist of the mayors from Odom, Scriven, and the city of Jessup, our hospital CEO, our health department director, our chairman of county commissioners, our county administrator, city manager. We meet on Fridays to discuss the needs in our community. And so we talk about needs from all of our different organizations. We discuss data, we discuss numbers. And we're going to continue those conversations. And if something comes up in that, we'll definitely bring that to the attention of this board. If we've got to make changes, that's what we're going to do. And I hope that we're back on schedule. I know the county had some called meetings to discuss some of their, their budget and some of the things that they needed for their retreat. Chairman Hires normally leads that group, and he had to, host his own commission meetings. But I hope that he's getting back on the road to be able to bring the community leaders back together, so that we can continue the conversations about our community and really discuss some of these numbers. And if we need to make some adjustments, Dr. Brinson and myself will be there. We'll definitely be on the phone. We need to have a call meeting. We're going to have a call meeting. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that, and also the community and our leaders in here know that we're meeting with all of the community leaders to discuss our Wayne County issues, numbers, and statuses every Friday.
I appreciate the cooperation, appreciate the dialogue, and I appreciate everybody's strong opinions. All of you have your strengths and your background, and I appreciate your voice and your opinion. That's how it's supposed to work. I think we got a good direction here. I'm excited about the future in the next month. And the whole key, as it's been said over and over, is we got to be nimble and be willing to manage this fluid situation as it changes. But this gives us, a framework to do just that and care for kids in the best way, along with our staff and community members. But I'm appreciative of your efforts.
Return by commission.
Killing me.